If you had told me a year ago that the most stressful fight of my adult life wouldn't be with my boss, my bank, or my own family, but with a homeowners association over a color, I would have laughed and offered you a beer. Turns out, I was wrong, and it all started with a flag. I live in a place called Maple Crest. It's one of those master-planned suburbs just outside a mid-sized East Coast city. The kind where every house looks like it was copied and pasted from the same template and then slightly resized so nobody could sue. Beige siding, gray shingles, white trim, quiet streets, lawns trimmed within an inch of their lives. On paper, it's peaceful. In reality, it's a pressure cooker with flower beds. When my wife and I bought the house, we told ourselves the same lie everyone does. It's fine. The HOA keeps things nice. Property values go up. We won't even notice it. You always notice it. The first time I noticed was early July, hot enough that the air felt thick like you could chew it. I stepped out onto my front porch with a mug of coffee that had already gone lukewarm, and there was a small red sliding slowly across the column beside my door. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Then I followed the dot across the driveway, across the sidewalk, and straight into the narrowed eyes of Elaine Parker. Elaine was the president of the Maple Crest Homeowners Association. She was also the kind of person who looked like she slept in a blazer and woke up already disappointed in you. Clipboard tucked against her chest, laser measuring tool in hand, posture rigid enough to be considered structural support. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She never did. "Morning, Elaine," I called, forcing my voice into that polite neighbor tone you use when you know trouble is coming. She clicked the laser off, scribbled something on her clipboard, and said, almost to herself, distance from porch column to curb, 11 feet, 9 inches. Then she looked up at me. "We have a problem." I leaned against the doorframe, took a sip of coffee that tasted vaguely like regret, and said, "Do we?" I was having a pretty good morning until about 10 seconds ago. She stepped forward, stopping exactly at the property line, like crossing it might contaminate her. "Bylaw 27 subsection D," she said, reciting it like scripture. "Non-approved exterior displays visible from the street constitute a violation of community aesthetic standards." I already knew what she was talking about, but I pointed anyway. "You mean the flag?" "A standard American flag. Nothing oversized, nothing torn or dramatic. Just a regular 3 by 5 mounted to the porch for the 4th of July weekend, still days away." "Yes," she said sharply. "The flag." Elaine folded her hands around the measuring tool, like it was a weapon. "The colors are disruptive. Red and blue are considered visually aggressive under our harmony guidelines." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain couldn't find a more appropriate reaction. "Elaine, it's the American flag. We live in America. This isn't about patriotism," she snapped. "It's about compliance. You signed the covenants." That's when she pointed out the bracket. 2 small screws drilled neatly into the column. "Unauthorized structural modification," she said, checking another box. "You failed to submit Form ARC. 3 for exterior alterations." "I used 2 screws, Elaine." She didn't blink. "You have 24 hours to remove the item and restore the column to its original condition. Failure to comply will result in a Tier 1 fine. $50 per day." She tore the citation from her clipboard and pressed it into my chest like she was tagging livestock. "Have a nice day." Then she turned and walked off, already scanning the Hendersons' lawn across the street, like she was hunting. I stood there for a while after she left, staring at the flag as it moved slightly in the humid breeze. It looked harmless. It felt harmless. And yet somehow, it had just become a problem. Inside, my wife Megan was at the kitchen island scrolling through her phone. She didn't even have to ask. "Elaine?" she said. "Elaine." She glanced at the citation and sighed. "Just take it down. It's not worth it." "It's the 4th of July, I said. "Everyone has flags. Everyone isn't us," she replied. "We like this house. We like not being fined." I wanted to argue, but she wasn't wrong. Still, something about it sat wrong in my chest. So instead of taking it down, I appealed. I read the covenants, dug through forums, even found a federal law that said HOAs couldn't ban the American flag outright. I submitted the appeal, confident, proud, even. For 2 days, I left the flag up. On the 3rd day, the email came. Appeal denied. Fines applied retroactively. $150. That night, I took the flag down. I filled the holes. I folded the fabric carefully, slower than necessary, like I was apologizing to it. Across the street, Elaine watched from her window. She gave a single nod, and something inside me snapped, quietly, slowly, but completely. I didn't know it yet, but that wasn't the end of the story. That was the beginning. For a couple of days after I took the flag down, things went quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful, just watchful. Like the neighborhood was holding its breath, waiting to see if I'd learned my lesson. On the surface, life went back to normal. I went to work, answered emails, sat in traffic, came home to beige houses and identical mailboxes. But inside my head, the argument kept replaying. Everything I should have said. Every line I'd swallowed. The way Elaine had said compliance, like it was a moral virtue. One night, I was sitting on the back patio with a cheap beer, staring at the back of my house. Megan was inside, half watching TV, half pretending not to worry about me spiraling. The sun was going down, throwing that orange glow that makes everything look better than it really is. That's when my eyes drifted up, past the siding, past the windows, to the roof. Our roof wasn't special. Gray asphalt shingles, a little faded. Inspector had told us they'd need replacing in a few years. I remember thinking that at the time. Few years left. We'll deal with it later. Later had arrived. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was spite. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was the beer. But I pulled out my phone and opened the Maple Crest Covenant documents again. All 200 soul-crushing pages of them. I started scrolling. Siding rules. Window rules. Door colors. Fence height. Approved plant species. I kept scrolling, half angry, half numb. Then I hit the roofing section. Materials required. Asphalt shingles only. No metal. No wood shake. Maintenance standards. No moss. No loose shingles. I read it once. Then again. I scrolled down slowly, waiting for the color section. The approved palette. The appendix. It never came. I scrolled back up. Checked the index. Checked the addendums. Solar panels. Satellite dishes. Nothing. My heart rate picked up in a way that had nothing to do with alcohol. They regulated the walls. They regulated the doors. They regulated flags. But they never said a word about roof color. I stood up so fast the chair scraped against the concrete. Megan called from inside. Everything okay? I walked in, phone in hand, pointing at the screen like a man who'd just discovered fire. Look at this. Read it. She squinted, scrolled, frowned. Okay, they forgot the color, I said. They forgot to regulate roof color. She looked at me the way you look at someone who's either very smart or very dangerous. Roofs are gray, she said. That's just how roofs are. Not anymore, I said. That's when the idea fully formed. Not as a joke, not as a fantasy, as a real, terrifying, exhilarating possibility. A roof isn't decoration. It isn't temporary. It's structural. It's permanent. And if it's asphalt shingles, it's compliant. Megan crossed her arms. No, I smiled. That slow smile that means the brakes are already gone. What if they can't stop it? The argument lasted 2 hours. Money, risk, escalation. What if they retaliate? What if they change the rules? But under all of it was something simpler. The feeling that if we didn't push back now, we never would. That this neighborhood and people like Elaine relied on everyone folding eventually. The next morning, I made a call. His name wasn't Rusty. That was the other guy's story. This guy's name was Carl. Found him through a friend of friend. Independent roofer. Cash jobs. Didn't care about HOA referrals. When I mentioned Maple Crest, he laughed. Not a happy laugh. A tired one. I charge extra for that place, he said. You people got a laser lady. That's her, I said. I told him the idea. There was a pause on the line. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. You serious? He finally asked. Dead serious. Another pause. Then, I kind of love it. Carl came by that afternoon. He walked the roof, checked the pitch, measured everything twice. Then I showed him the bylaws. He read them slowly, lips moving, brow furrowed. Then he looked up at me. They screwed up. So it's legal? It's legal until they change the rules, he said. And even then, they can't retroactively enforce it. What about colors? Megan asked. Carl grinned. You could get asphalt shingles and dam near anything if you know where to look. The number he quoted made Megan sit down. It was everything we'd saved. Vacation money, emergency buffer, comfort. That night, we barely slept. By morning, we said yes. Permits were easy. Roof replacement. Material listed as asphalt. No color question asked. Approved in less than an hour. The shingles arrived midweek, wrapped in black plastic. Elaine was on my driveway before the truck driver finished unloading. "Where are those?" she demanded. "Roofing materials," the driver said, already backing away. "Unauthorized storage," Elaine snapped, scribbling. I didn't even argue this time. I just smiled. The work started Friday morning. Carl's crew showed up early and immediately put up scaffolding and tarps along the entire front of the house. Big blue ones. Loud blue. Elaine came out, predictably furious. "Those tarps violate safety requirement," Carl yelled from under the tarp. "OSHA." She froze at the word. Safety always trumped aesthetics. She retreated, fuming. For 2 days, the house was a mystery. Hammering. Cutting. No one could see anything. I climbed up once just to check. Under the tarp, it was chaos. Heat, sweat, the smell of asphalt. And color. So much color. It was bold. Ridiculous. Perfect. Saturday morning, the neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. Megan set up her phone in the window without saying a word. Elaine stepped outside, right on schedule. I walked onto the porch. "Morning, Elaine." She squinted at the tarps. "When is this coming down?" "Right now." Carl shouted, "Drop it." The tarps slid away. Sunlight hit the roof, and everything exploded. Red, white, and blue. Clean lines. Massive. Impossible to ignore. The kind of thing your brain rejects for a second because it doesn't belong there. Elaine dropped her clipboard. People came out of their houses. Someone laughed. Someone clapped. Elaine screamed. She called the police. When the officers arrived, they looked up and stared. One of them actually took off his sunglasses. "Is that the roof?" he asked. "Asphalt shingles," I said. "Fully permitted." They turned to Elaine. "This is a civil issue." She looked like she might faint, but she wasn't done. Not even close. That afternoon, the letter arrived. Per shingle fines. Administrative fees. Threat of lien. Threat of foreclosure. The message was clear. You may have won the battle, but we're taking the house. And that's when fear finally caught up with me. Because for the first time, I realized something. Elaine wasn't trying to enforce rules anymore. She was trying to destroy us. The thing about winning a public battle is that it feels incredible for about 12 hours, maybe less, and then reality starts knocking again, louder this time. By Saturday night, after the police left and the neighbors drifted back inside with their stories and their shaky excitement, the street went quiet in a way that felt unnatural, like the pause after thunder when you know another strike is coming. I stood in the driveway with Megan, both of us looking up at the roof, the stars catching the last light of the day. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "We really did it," she finally said. "Yeah," I said. "We really did." That was when my phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a call. It was an email. Official looking. Subject line written in the kind of cold, precise language that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. Notice of emergency enforcement action. I felt my chest tighten as I read. The HOA board had convened an emergency session. They had reviewed the situation. While the roofing material technically met the listed requirements, the board had determined the roof constituted a public nuisance and a violation of the community's Spirit of Harmony clause. They had found a way. The fines weren't $50 anymore. They weren't even daily in the normal sense. They were per unit, per shingle, 10 cents each, plus administrative fees, plus enforcement costs. And if the violation wasn't cured within 14 days, they would place a lien on the house and begin foreclosure proceedings. I read it twice, then a third time. Megan watched my face change color. It didn't need me to explain. "Per shingle?" she whispered. I nodded. The number climbed in my head faster than I wanted to calculate. Hundreds a day, thousands a week. Enough to ruin us quietly and legally. Across the street, Elaine stood on her driveway with a glass of wine, staring directly at our house. When she noticed me looking, she raised the glass in a slow, deliberate toast. That was the moment the fear hit. Not panic, not hysteria, just the cold understanding that this woman wasn't embarrassed and she wasn't finished. She wanted to win. Not just the argument, but us. That night, neither of us slept. Megan sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and a legal pad. I paced. We talked in circles. What if we sold? What if we gave in? What if we replaced the roof again and swallowed the loss? Every option felt like surrender. Sunday morning, I did the one thing left that didn't involve folding. I started searching. Not forums, not neighborhood groups, actual cases. HOA disputes that had gone beyond petty fines and into real courtrooms. That's when I found him. A civil rights attorney out of D.C., known for going after quasi-government bodies that overstep their authority. Known for hating HOAs in particular. I sent the email with shaking hands. I didn't edit it. I didn't soften it. I told the whole story. The flag, the fines, the roof, the per shingle punishment. I attached photos. Then I waited. Monday morning came without mercy. At 9:15, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this the homeowner with a patriotic roof? Yes. Good, he said. I'm looking at it right now. It's hideous. I laughed, shaky and relieved all at once. But here's the thing, he continued. It's also a problem. Not for you. For them. He explained it slowly, methodically, like a man who enjoys dismantling bad logic. By fining per shingle, the HOA had admitted the roof was composed of individual expressive elements. But they hadn't identified which elements were prohibited. Red, white, blue, all three. They couldn't ban all three without banning the flag itself. And that crossed into content-based discrimination. On top of that, the spirit of harmony clause was vague. Courts hated vague, especially when it was used selectively. They're bluffing, he said. They want you scared. They want you broke. But they overplayed their hand. There was a board meeting that night. Emergency ratification. Megan ironed my shirt like I was going to court. I brought a small speakerphone and set it in my pocket. The room was packed. Folding chairs filled. Neighbors whispering. Phones out. Elaine sat at the front, confident, composed, already victorious in her mind. She presented the fines, the numbers, the threat. Then she asked if I had anything to say. I walked forward, placed the speaker on the table, and said I was yielding my time to counsel. When the voice came through the room, calm and sharp and unmistakably practiced, the energy changed instantly. He introduced himself, explained the violations, explained the consequences, not hypotheticals, specifics, federal court, personal liability, discovery, media attention. Elaine tried to interrupt. He didn't let her. When he mentioned naming board members individually, the treasurer's face drained of color. When he mentioned insurance exclusions for malicious enforcement, the secretary stopped taking notes. The room wasn't on Elaine's side anymore. It wasn't on my side either. It was on the side of survival. A motion was made. Fines dismissed. Lien withdrawn. Elaine objected. No one seconded. She stood up slowly, her authority evaporating in real time, and said we were inviting chaos. That standards mattered. That order mattered. No one followed her when she walked out. Afterward, people shook my hand. Some thanked me. Some avoided eye contact. The roof was still the roof. Loud, divisive, unignorable. The HOA restructured. Rules were clarified. Elaine sold her house within 2 months. The roof stayed. A year later, I still catch people slowing down as they drive past. Some smile. Some scowl. Some take pictures. The house didn't become a symbol of unity. It became a question mark. And maybe that's the point. So here's what I want to know from you. Was I right, or did I go too far? Was it standing up for yourself, or was it escalation for its own sake? If you live next door, would you support it or fight it? Let me know in the comments. Because communities aren't built on silence. They're built on arguments we're willing to have.